What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for pressing play. Today we're going to talk about the C8 Corvette Z06 and the differences between the Z06 and the Z07 packaged car. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I am super excited for the C8 Corvette Z06 that we are going to be seeing in exactly 8 days from today's video. But I keep getting a question on my channel that is reoccurring. So everybody is constantly wanting to know what the differences are going to be between the base Z06 and the Z07 packaged car. Now you guys have already seen the picture that GM released of the Z06, and some of you have had some questions about why it seems so much like the base C8 Corvette, and I have answered it because it's not the Z07. Now, what that basically means is on the 26th of October, we are going to see the Z07 package Z06 sitting on that stage, and it is going to absolutely blow us all away. So, what are the differences? Well, we're going to talk about that in today's video, but guys, just so you understand, it is very likely to be pretty massive. Now, all of this is just going off of the information from the previous generation. So the C7 Corvette Z06 versus the C7 Corvette Z07 package Z06. Up until this point, that has been a really good way to figure out what GM was going to do with the C8 Corvette, is just go off of what they did with the previous generation Corvette. So far, everything has lined up exactly the same, so I don't see any reason why this would be any different. We already have some photographic proof of what's to come with the Z07 package Z06, and it already still lines up with the stuff that happened with the C7 Corvette Z06 and the C7 Corvette Z07 package car. With all that said, we're going to dive into all of the differences between the two and what you can expect to get if you buy the Z07 packaged Z06. Let's first start with when the C7 Corvette Z06 came out, which was actually a year after the base C7 Stingray came out. So that was going to most likely be the case here with the C8 Corvette as well. But due to the coronavirus and a couple other things that pushed everything back and back and back, we are actually 2 years later before we get to see the C8 Corvette Z06. If you guys remember correctly, when the base C8 was first announced, there was a leaked document talking about all of the future releases of the C8 Corvette variants. And sure enough, it was 2021 when the C8 Corvette Z06 was originally supposed to make its debut. Obviously, that would have followed the C7 Corvette release schedule as well, and again, it's just another reason why all of the C7 Corvette Z06/Z07 information will translate over to the C8 Corvette Z06/Z07. Real quick, guys, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is, again, going to be the guys over at Hyperion. Now, the reason for a case like this is automotive theft. The signal that travels from the key to your car can actually be stolen, and then they can use that later to get into your car and steal it. Now, inside of this case, you can actually put your key right in there, close up the top, and now that signal is interrupted and it cannot be stolen. So this would be best at night, sitting beside your nightstand with your key in it, so no one could ever possibly do this to you. A lot of you out there are probably thinking that doesn't sound like it's overly real, but one of my subscribers recently reached out to me and had a car stolen in California. It was a Mercedes, and this would have actually prevented that particular theft from happening. Now, the best part is, guys, you can save 35% and get free shipping on this just by checking out the link down below and for being a horsepower obsessed fan. So, with all of that said, let's jump into the one gigantic, glaring difference, and that is going to be carbon ceramic rotors. Now, you guys have seen the spy shots that were taken on the Nürburgring recently. It showed the Z06, and it also showed the Z07 packaged Z06. And sure enough, we get those larger carbon ceramic rotors. What that is going to do for anybody out there is it's going to give you a much better braking feel, next to zero brake dust, and of course, it is a larger rotor inside of the wheel, so it's going to fill in the inside of that wheel really nicely, and it's going to give it that supercar look. There are people out there that don't necessarily like carbon ceramic rotors, especially if you are going to get this car and track it very hard. Carbon ceramic rotors don't last forever, but if you drive the car normally on the street, you will never have to replace a carbon ceramic rotor for any kind of wear issues. I have a C7 Corvette ZR1, and prior to that, I had a C7 Corvette Z06 with the Z07 package, both of which had the carbon ceramic rotor rotors, and they are absolutely fantastic. I love the lack of brake dust. I love the initial brake bite. It's one of those things where every time I have to put the car away for the winter, the first time I drive it the next spring, I hit the brake and it almost sends me through the freaking windshield because I'm so used to driving something that doesn't have quite the bite that those carbon ceramic brake setups do. In my opinion, it's definitely worth it just for the carbon ceramic rotors, but of course, everybody's opinion out there will vary. I am definitely getting a Z07 packaged Z06 whenever it is available, and that is just one of the reasons why. Now, next we move on to something that is not as visible, and that is going to be the suspension setups. So with the Z07 packaged car, you get a stiffer, more track-oriented suspension. With the C7 Corvette Z06, with that Z07 package, the front spring rate was 62% higher on the Z07 than it was on the Z06. The rear spring rate was 22% higher on the Z07 than it was on the Z06. What that means is basically, like I said in the beginning, it's a stiffer, more track-tuned suspension that's going to give you a much more planted car at high speed. Now, with all of that, also factors in your spoiler option. Again, we have already seen some of the spy shots on the Nürburgring of the Z06 and of the Z07 packaged Z06, and sure enough, there are two very different spoilers there. I'm actually thinking there is going to be a third option as well that we have not seen yet, but let's just talk about the two that we do know of. And the first one for the Z06 is more of a lip style spoiler. It's very small, not really too much in your face, but it still provides downforce. Just like the C7 Corvette Z06, the base spoiler still adds downforce, but it doesn't add as much as the Z07 package does. In those Nürburgring spy shots, we did actually see the Z07 packaged wing as well, and it is definitely much larger than the base Z06. This is more of a wing, and it only is connected in the center. There's only two posts in the center, while the outside of the wing actually extends out past the ends of the body of the car, and it is very likely to provide a fair amount more downforce for traction on the track, just like the spring rate difference does. So at the end of the day, for any of you out there wondering, the Z07 package is basically a track package. Moving on to the next important part of the Z07 package, that is the tires. So again, these are going to be more of a track related item, and they're going to have better grip with the ability to push them a lot harder in the turns. Now, we have seen again the spy shots at the Nürburgring showing the Z07 packaged car with the Sport Cup 2R compound tires. The C7 Corvette Z07 packaged car came with the Sport Cup 2, just like the C7 Corvette ZR1 that I currently have has the Sport Cup 2 tires. They are an absolutely insane tire, and when properly warmed up, they grip like no other. And I'm told that the Sport Cup 2Rs are even better. So this car is literally going to stick upside down, I think, and it's going to be perfect on the track. Now again, on the street, probably not so much. If you're driving this car back and forth to work and you're running into a rainstorm or something, it's not going to be the best. I can tell you from experience on the Sport Cup 2s that when it's cold and rainy, you might as well be driving on ice. Again, the Z07 package stuff is really built for the track, but these tires are going to absolutely do their jobs on the track, and on a nice summer day, they'll do the job on the street too. With the base C8 Corvette Z06, we are more likely to see a Michelin Sport 4S tire or possibly the Sport Cup 2 without the R compound. Either way, you are looking at a very capable tire. The Sport Cup 2Rs are just going to give you that little bit extra where you can really push it in the turn. You can also bank on the fact that all of these options are going to be run flats. The C7 Corvette and the C8 Corvette in all of their shapes and sizes have all had run flat tires because you really don't have an option in this Corvette. There's no room in the trunk for a spare tire. You kind of have to limp this thing to your tire shop, and the run flats are the best way to do it. Next is going to kind of factor into our spoiler discussion a little bit ago, and it's going to be just general aero. So we have seen both of these cars again in the Nürburgring spy shots, and the front lip on the base Z06 is much less aggressive than the front lip on the Z07 packaged car. That is going to give you the extra dive planes. It's also going to give you what looks to be a larger lip overall. What this is going to do, of course, is going to provide provide more downforce and more aerodynamics to the car, again, improving its track performance. Now, this is something you can also feel on the street in spirited driving. It will allow you to push harder into the turns, push faster into the turns, all of that good stuff. And again, it looks a lot more aggressive. Now, all of this stays true to the C7 Corvette Z06 and the Z07 package as well, because with the Z06, you got the front lip. With the Z07, it added side canards, which were therefore more downforce on the front end. It also added a more aggressive rear spoiler like we talked about. The Z07 package is really just to take the Z06 and bump it up a couple notches for more track use and better aerodynamics. So when you get the Z07, it always looks more aggressive because of all that added aero. But guys, basically to sum up this entire video, what we have with the Z07 package is stiffer springs to allow better track performance, better tires with stickier compound to again allow better track support, more aerodynamics, so a bigger front splitter, a bigger spoiler, all of the good stuff to make sure that that car is pushed down on the ground at high speed. And of course, the carbon ceramic rotors to allow the best braking capability possible to slow down a car that is traveling at high speeds on a track. That's pretty much it. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but you guys got to understand that the aerodynamic portion of this car is going to look absolutely insane compared to the base Z06 that GM has showed us. GM knows what they're doing with this release. They know that if they show these pictures out there, it's going to kind of generate talk on the internet. They purposely didn't show us the Z07 package because that is the car we are going to see on the stage in 8 days. It's going to be the Z07 package with every single option checked, which means it's going to have the carbon fiber wheels. It's going to have the carbon ceramic rotors. It's going to have the big front lip with the dive planes on the sides. It's going to have the big spoiler in the rear. And who knows, maybe it will have that third option spoiler that no one has seen yet. But there is a lot of talk about this third option, and it's likely to be somewhere around the size of the C8R wing. And of course, that offers even more track support. What this all boils down to is the fact that the Z07 package car we're going to see in 8 days is going to look much more supercar, much more insane, and it's going to definitely blow all of your minds. Anybody out there with a base C8 Corvette is going to absolutely want this car something fierce. Now, I am in agreement with most of you that the base Z06 picture that we have seen from GM doesn't look that much different than the base C8 Corvette pictures, but this Z07 package car is going to change all of your minds. With all of that said, if the pricing follows suit from the C7 Corvette generation, you're looking at between $8,000 and $10,000 more for the Z07 package car on the Z06, which at the end of the day really isn't that much when you consider the fact that each one of the carbon ceramic rotors is around $2,500. So if we're at 10 grand, that is just enough to pay for just the rotors, not even factoring in the larger calipers, the stickier tires, the bigger aero in the front and rear, and the stiffer suspension. So I think it's a pretty good buy. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. If you liked what you saw, please smash that thumbs up button. Let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts? Are you going to get a Z07 package Z06? Do you agree with everything I said about the C8 Corvette Z07 package car in today's video? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm going to have loads of C8 Corvette information like this coming you are not going to want to miss. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.